Hi guys, welcome back to my channel and welcome back to part 4, the final part of the Willow Creek High School speed build. Yes, this is probably the slowest speed build you've ever seen because it's, how many parts? It's 4 parts, each part is roughly 17 minutes long. That's not exactly a speedy build, but to be fair, this build took me roughly 12 hours to actually make in total. I mean, obviously I didn't do it all at once, but yikes. Yeah. So anyway, guys, here I am trying to build a baseball field, which, I mean, I know nothing about baseball. I think that baseball is probably the second most boring sport. Obviously, golf is by far the most boring sport in America. Golf just sucks. I hate golf. I'm sorry if you like golf, but you're wrong. The only thing more boring than golf is televised golf. And baseball is a close second after golf. Nothing happens. Like, they just do a lot of kind of standing around. Honestly, I hate sports. I just really hate sports. But specifically, I just think baseball is really boring. At work, we can only have our television in the bar set to either sports or news. So usually it's on sports news, and it's just so boring. They're always just arguing about things that don't matter at all, and I just don't understand. Anyway, though, this baseball field doesn't really make any sense because, well, first of all, it's facing the school. And honestly, if you know anything about how baseball works, you have to hit the ball, and it's not really going to help anybody if you hit the ball, like, into the school windows. So, you know, that was an interesting choice. But that's okay. You know, it's fine. It's The Sims. They won't actually be playing. But I created some, like, somewhat okay looking little bases in there. It's not perfect. It would have been better if I had gone around with a darker terrain paint, I think, and kind of made it stand out a little bit more with better edges, but honestly I was just not feeling that dedicated because it already looked kind of silly and I just didn't really want to spend any more time on this baseball field, so I just added some of those baseball just things. When I added a bunch of sports equipment inside the gym while I was doing this because I remembered that they had these basketballs, and then I found this cube, and I thought, you know, it'd be cool if I filled an entire cube with basketballs. Like, I don't know about you guys, but we always had, like, tons and tons of, like, bins and bins and racks full of sports equipment, so I thought that would be a good choice. So let me just go straight on into the 3rd floor, which I'd say is probably my least favorite floor. I mean, it's not a bad floor by any means, but it's definitely not the most exciting floor. Let's see, I think on this floor we have the, like, English room, we have the, what else? Yeah, we have something else up here that I don't remember. Oh, we have the home ec room is up here. There's, like, a generic classroom. There's some other stuff. Sorry, I'm, like, totally blanking right now. I built this, like, a couple of days ago since I've done this voiceover, and I've done a bunch more videos since then, cause yeah, yeah, I don't know guys, if you haven't seen my most recent video, which is Fisher does my voiceover, you should definitely go check it out, though it might not be the most recent video. Actually, by the time that you watch this, it might be the 2nd most recent video, but either way, it's kind of funny. He just does some really ridiculous things, and I think you should watch it because it's silly. Anyway, though, I said that like 6 times already. But Fisher, if you did not know, is one of my best friends, and we met in high school. Well, actually, we met a long time ago, and we were like 8 years old, but we were not friends. I was friends with his little brother, who's a year younger than me, for a while, and then I sort of became friends with Fisher in high school, where I also became friends with my other best friends, Abby and Dakota, which I met Abby when I was actually in the 4th grade at summer camp. But then, we didn't really talk a whole lot for a long time, and then in freshman year, we had, like, a bunch of classes together, and I broke my foot, essentially. I, like, tripped. I tripped when I was, like, doing something at some point, and then so she basically pushed my wheelchair to all my classes, and then we became really good friends, and we worked on all our projects together and stuff like that. And then Dakota, he was a senior when we were freshmen, and Fisher was a junior. And Dakota and Fisher and me and Abby, we all did theater together. And so We wanted to become friends with Dakota because he was like that guy who plays the lead, and like he's silly, and we're all just like really big nerds, obviously, if you couldn't tell by just anything I ever say. But yeah, so we're all best friends now, and I love everybody a lot, and I'm really, really glad that kind of high school brought us together. I mean, you know, high school is what it is. It sucks for a lot of the time. It feels like it matters a lot, but it really doesn't, honestly. And in the grand scheme of things, there are a lot of things that are not actually as important as you think they are. Like, it's really not that important to have a boyfriend in high school. It might seem like it is, but it's really not, and most of the time they tend to just be kind of distracting. Yeah, I don't know where I was going with this. But anyway, this classroom is like the writing classroom. I took a bunch of writing classes when I was in high school. I took, honors English when I was a freshman. I took AP English junior and senior year. I took creative writing. Basically, writing is my thing. I would really like to write movies. That is what I want to do in the future, though I don't really know. I don't really know how that's gonna work out, but that's the goal, you know. That's the goal. But anyway, I like this classroom. I think I did a pretty decent job of making it really look like there is definitely some books and some writing going on in here. And also I found this like the chalkboard thing, which I didn't realize that I had, and I sized it up to be really big, and I think that looks nice. That way not every single classroom has the exact same things on the wall, you know. Though not every classroom in this build has a desk for the teacher, but you know what? That's okay. Like, I know in most schools, or at least in my school, pretty much every single classroom had a desk for the teacher. But there's just not a lot of space, because this build might be a large build, but there just aren't that many, like, places to put things. Just the rooms are kind of small, and some of the objects in this game are bigger than they really should be, or they take up more space than they should be. But you know what? Every single desk in this game is, you're able to sit in it. Like, this is a very playable build, which I think is really interesting. Though it's potentially a somewhat laggy build because there's just so much going on. But I honestly couldn't really tell you if it was actually lagging or if it was just taking my sim a really long time to get places because it's a huge build. I really couldn't say, but you never know. You never know, guys. I keep like forgetting to cut out bits where I like stopped. So sorry about all these weird little pauses and stuff. I cut them out, a couple of them, but not all of them. Because when I was building this, my dad kept making me go and like do different things in between. I don't know. But this classroom is the math classroom, because you gotta have a math classroom. You gotta learn your algebra and your calculus and whatnot. Though actually I didn't take calculus because my senior year of high school I did not want to take math, so I took personal finance, which was like kind of like a math class, except we didn't really do any math in it. Mostly we just like looked up house values and learned about taxes. Except for not really even. We learned about Social Security, and we learned about like how to kind of like balance your like living costs, but not actually how to balance a checkbook or anything. I don't know. It was kind of a useless class, to be perfectly honest. We played like a fake stock market game, and I played a lot of BS. Yeah. You know, that the card game where you like lie about how many cards you're like putting down or whatever. Anyway, we played a lot of that because we would always finish our work like way before the class had ended, so we just played a ton of BS all the time. Which was fun, but probably not all that useful, to be perfectly honest. But that's okay. You know what? Not all the time can be useful. But yeah. Yeah, so here I was still doing that banner thing, but later I do go on and delete them all, so no need to really pay attention to these banners. Some of them made a lot of sense, but then some of them just really didn't, because I was going here and I was like, does a rainbow really suit, like, a writing classroom? Not really, not so much. So then I just scrapped that idea and I just moved on with my life. And so this this is not a classroom, that's what I meant to say. This room is the teacher's lounge, which I think was an important feature of this build. You know, you gotta have a teacher's lounge. You gotta have a place for the teachers to chill out, you know, get away from students for a little bit. So it just has like a little type like kitchenette thing, like a little couch to sit at, there's a little table, and a vending machine, of course. What else? Just some different paintings, posters, whatnot, stuff like that. definitely a coffee machine, because you gotta have a coffee machine, otherwise how can you possibly expect to get through a whole day as a high school teacher if you don't have a coffee machine? So, yeah, I appreciate that about this build. I appreciate that it takes the teachers into consideration. I don't know what I'm talking about, but I don't like these shelves. I mean, cabinets, they're cabinets. I want more counters and cabinets, and I want a bigger variety of cabinet options with each swatch. You know, like, I want there to be ones, like, more that are different looking, that don't have glass in them, and more that do, you know, because when I'm building, like, a house, I want, like, a whole variety of types of cabinets, but we don't have that really. Yeah, also, what I have in my house is like a Lazy Susan type thing, you know, where like you open the cabinet and then it like spins, and there isn't anything that looks like that in The Sims, really, you know? So yeah, so after I built the teacher's lounge, I was trying to figure out what best to do next, and so I end up building this classroom, which I believe is the history classroom. I kind of got a lot of inspiration for the history classroom from my Terrorism in the Modern World course, which was a very chill class, because one of our teachers, I had him also for my sophomore year English, which was world history, and basically he was very chill. He had a lot of projects all around his room. In Terrorism, you had to watch Star Wars and then talk about how it was like related to terrorism and stuff like that, which was neat. And so this classroom is just kind of covered in all sorts of cultural and historical type like paintings and stuff like that. It's not the most classroomy looking classroom, but it definitely, I feel like, gives off that like history and culture vibe. It has, you know, these paintings from different cultures, and like those posters over there that look like I don't know how to explain what I thought of them, but I feel like they kind of look like, what am I trying to say? Like protesters, or like something that'd be on like a wall during some revolution or something like that. I don't know. I just really wanted it to look like there were different projects and different artifacts kind of in this room. Like they were really learning a lot about the subject, because I definitely learned a lot about history from this teacher. A lot more than I did in my other classes, where we just kind of sat and looked at the board. My freshman year teacher was so freaking boring. He did nothing of interest ever, and it was just one of those classes where you had to memorize facts, and all the tests were just memorize this fact, memorize that fact. Whereas the teacher that I had for terrorism and sophomore year history, he was like, here, write your like findings and feelings about this particular event in history, or what we've learned about this, and it was just much more interesting. We had a lot of discussions and stuff like that. It was a lot less like, here is a slideshow, now take notes, please. But yeah. So moving on, in this part of the build, we are doing a photo studio. Why not? I don't know. My high school had multiple art rooms, and in one of them we would set up little photo studios, because we had darkroom photography and digital photography, and I took both when I was in high school, and they were really fun. I had a lot of fun. They were really easy classes for me, because I'm the kind of person who just does my work. Like, I don't really, like, get distracted or, like, try to get out of it. So I would just do my work, and I had a lot of fun just learning how to use darkroom processes, Photoshop. A lot of the things that I do for my thumbnails and photoshopping and stuff now, I learned from that class, which I think is fun. Yeah, so this is the home ec classroom. We don't have home ec in my school district anymore. They kind of got rid of it. I had home ec when I was in like the 5th grade, and then after that, maybe also the 6th grade, but I think just the 5th grade, and after that, they changed it to health class, where you still got to cook things, but it just wasn't as much. And then in high school, we don't have anything like home ec at all. There's no cooking anything, really. But I think it's kind of cool to have a home ec classroom. I feel like other schools might have that. I don't know, we didn't, though. Let me know, did your high school have a home ec classroom? Did you take home ec? Because, I mean, obviously I didn't. I don't know, we had this thing called, this is not really related to home ec at all, but we had this thing called advisory, which was like, you had one group of kids mixed up from all the different grades, and you had the same group all 4 years of high school, and you like did things like activities together. It was kind of dumb. I don't know. It was like half an hour every day, or maybe it was half an hour, maybe it was an hour, I can't remember. You just go in this room and you have this one teacher, and usually every time, like every class had the same teacher for their whole 4 years, but I ended up having different teachers like almost every year, because we had like the vice principal, as our teacher, but then she retired, so then she wasn't our advisor anymore. I guess an advisor, you were also supposed to kind of have like goals and stuff. When I was a senior, they started this new goals thing for the freshmen, so I never had to do it. It was just like I don't really know what it was. You had to like make different education goals for yourself and then like complete them throughout your 4 years. I guess it was supposed to help you kind of with your trajectory and your path in life and like what you wanted to do after you graduated, which I think would be kind of helpful, but also I was really glad I didn't have to do it because there was a lot of really just boring like things where you had to just like fill out like I don't even know, just different like goals and sheets and stuff. I don't know. It just wasn't that exciting. Anyway, this classroom right here is just a really generic classroom. You can probably teach whatever you want in here. Honestly, like it's not particularly themed to anything, but I feel like a lot of classrooms in my school anyway weren't quite as like well decorated or themed or whatever. This one's just kind of your general classroomy thing. Maybe this teacher likes sports, maybe they teach science. I don't know. Whatever you think this teacher teaches is fine with me. But yeah, so I added the little lights from Parenthood there, just some different banners. Yeah, not too much. And then here I am just adding little details to all of the ones that I didn't really think to add details to because I just think it's a lot more realistic if the desks look like someone's been sitting in them, like there are pencils there or books or backpacks or just something like that, you know? But yeah, that's basically my goal anyway. This person right here, this desk was supposed to be someone who was super neat, so I like spent a lot of time like lining up all of these pens on the desk like they were just a really neat student who had to have everything kind of lined up perfectly and whatnot. I like to give different pieces of my build like personality. It's just a lot more interesting if you actually know who you think would live here or sit at this desk, yada yada, instead of just being like, here is a house or here's a desk, somebody sits there, like someone lives there. Also, I put pizza on the table in the teacher's lounge because I thought that was funny. So this room was originally just like a really, really plain, weird classroom, but then I decided I was going to make a nurse's office out of it. So I used some of the get to work like doctor stuff. It's not the best room in the build, definitely because it was like last, kind of an afterthought, but I thought it would just be a lot more interesting if there was a nurse's office in here rather than there being just another classroom. So yeah, it just has, you know, the nurse's little desk. It has a shelf full of medicine. It took me forever to like size up and or like, I don't know, just like move all of the medicine up and down. So yeah, and then there's like that classic like teddy bear thing. I don't think we had any teddy bears in our nurse's office, but in TV shows there's always like a teddy bear in the nurse's office and stuff like that. So that's kind of what I put in there. Also, I found this skeleton thing that I was looking for earlier, so I put that in the science lab because I feel like that's somewhat important, you know, to have your like science skeleton and stuff like that. I think ours had a name, but I don't know what it was. But yeah, I don't know. Anyway, guys, the build is almost over, so thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed all 4 parts of this build. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe if you want to see more. Bye, guys.